So you can see that I put a bunch of pictures on my desktop that I'm using my food face. Who can guess the theme of this? Samir. Green foods, yes. So it doesn't even need to be like a type of cuisine or, your theme could be something as simple as the color of the foods. So I'm going to try to make my portrait out of all green foods. The first step is opening up Photoshop. We're going to be working in Photoshop. So as I look at the icons in the dock, any guesses which one is Photoshop? Kevin?
Yes.
Yes, it's blue PS. So I'm going to click on this to open up Photoshop. The first time you open it, it might ask you a couple of prompts. And it might be a little slow the first time. All right, remember when you're saving your pictures that pictures with all white backgrounds are really easy to cut and paste in Photoshop, but you can use other ones. So I'll show you how to use both a white background and a background with image in it, so you can cut it out. And then you don't need to think right away about what food is going to be what in your portrait. You might want to just cut and paste them together and then see where it can fit. So I might look at these and go, okay, well, the watermelon might be good for a head because it's really round. But I could change my mind and use the pickle as a head too, because that's kind of round, or the lime, or an apple. As I'm looking at some of these foods, I could see they could maybe be good for hair. The broccoli might work for hair, the parsley. I could use the top of the pineapple, the cilantro, or the lettuce. So there's a lot of ways we can use the foods in different combinations. Okay, so when you open up Photoshop, it's going to look like this. A lot of times students will go, mine is not working. It's got a lot of different menus and tools. There's all these tools along the left-hand side. You can customize and change these. If you click and hold on each tool, it gives you more options. Every tool here, when you choose it, will change the options up here for working with the tool. There's also all these different menus over here, like colors and swatches. There's all these different menus and commands up here. So it's a lot to learn and figure out. I've been working with these programs for like 20 years and there's always new stuff that I don't know. So I'm just going to teach you what you need to know for this project. Okay, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with everything else. We're just going to talk about what you need for this one project and take it step by step. So I went to File, New, and I have to choose the kind of document I want. You can go to Print. If you just think about this would be a picture we could print, or Art and Illustration. If you choose, actually let's start with Print. The first option in Print is Letter. That's just a normal sheet of paper, like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that we use every day. So let's stick with Letter. So click on Letter, and then you don't need to change anything else. It says it's 8.5 by 11 inches. The resolution is fine, the color mode. The background is going to be white. If you wanted to name it now, you can, but you can also name it when you save. And we're going to name these your last name, so it's got to be your last name first. My computer has been so slow today. I'm getting the rainbow wheel if you can't see that. But your last name and then food, or food face. Then click Create. So this will give you your blank piece of paper to start. I would suggest you give it a background color, or you can do a gradient. So to do a background color, you'll choose the paint bucket. This will dump paint. It might be hidden under this gradient tool. So this one will probably be on top first. But if you click and hold, you can go to the paint bucket. So the paint bucket would just be whatever solid color that you pick. Right now, down here is the color selected, so it's brown. If I want to change that, I can either use the color palette here, or the swatches, or I can double click on the brown and go to the color picker and pick whatever color. Okay? I want to think about a color that's going to work with all my green foods. So I know that like a contrasting color, a color opposite on the color wheel might look good. So maybe like a red or a pink. If you wanted to do a gradient, you can do that also. If you go to gradient tool, can see this, a gradient is a color that fades from one to another. So you can see it up here. You can use one of these preset gradients just by clicking on them, or you can make your own. If you double click the colors on the bottom and choose whatever color you want up here, you can change those. Okay, once I have a gradient I like, I'm going to click OK, and then you have to draw a line in the direction you want the gradient to go. So you can fill in your background with the gradient. Okay, so we'll just stick with either gradients or solid colors for the background. Okay, to add your photos, they should be on your desktop or a folder on your desktop. We're going to drag them down to the blue PS. It's really important that you do it this way, otherwise it's going to add some additional steps. So if I click the yellow button to just hide that for a moment, I'm going to choose my first photo, maybe start with your head or your shoulders, and drag it down onto the blue Photoshop icon in the dock. Then it'll open up this picture in a new tab. So it didn't erase my background, they're just open in different tabs. So there's my background, there's my first food. Okay, I want to copy and paste this cantaloupe, and I want the whole picture. So you can tell Photoshop you want the whole picture by either using the rectangle marquee tool and selecting it this way, or you can go to Select All. Then you have to copy it. That's under the Edit menu. So this is on your worksheet if you forget. You go to Edit, Copy. Then we go back to the background and go to Edit, Paste. Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. So you're going to use that over and over. We want to get rid of the white, and the easiest way to do that is to use this tool. If you click and hold under the Quick Selection tool and go to the Magic Wand tool. So the Magic Wand will select anything that's the same color. Select similarly colored image areas. So if I click on the white, this is why white backgrounds are good. It selects all of the white background, and then I can go to Edit, Cut to cut it out. And it's perfect and clean. If I want to change the size, we're going to go to the Edit menu again, and I'm going to go to Transform. So transform, you can pick either transform the scale or the size, you can rotate it, you can skew or distort it, you can change the perspective, you can rotate it, flip it horizontal or vertically. You can also choose free transform, which turns your food into this editable image where I just drag on the corners to make it bigger or smaller. It looks terrible when you stretch and squish foods, but if you hold the Shift key on your keyboard, it'll keep it proportional. So no matter how I move my mouse around, it's keeping the proportions the same. So you can change the size. When you have it the size that you want it, click on the, I'm going to rotate it actually, I think too. So I'm going to move my mouse around until I get these curved arrows, and then I can rotate. And then when you're happy with it, you click on the Move tool, which is the top tool, and click Apply Transformation. So this Move tool lets you move it wherever you want. Okay. You also want to be looking at your layers while we do this. I don't have my layers open right now, but if you go to Window and then Layers, it will show, oh, it's hidden. Put these down. Okay, here's my layers. So it shows my background layer and my cantaloupe layer, the first layer. We're going to work with layers a lot too, because this will control like what's on top. All right, now this might seem confusing, but once you get to this point, you're just repeating all the same steps again. So I'm going to choose my second food. I'm going to do this a little faster. Drag it to the blue Photoshop. Don't drag it directly into the window. Drag it onto the icon. It will still work if you put it in the window, but then there's other steps you'll have to do that I'm not showing you right now. Okay, so just to review, select all, edit, copy. I can close this window with the little X, then edit, paste. To get rid of the white, I'm going to go to the Magic Wand tool, click on the white, and go to Edit, Cut. So everything we're working with is basically under Edit. Then I want to make it bigger, so I'm going to go to Edit, Transform Scale, or Free Transform. I'm going to drag on the corners holding the Shift key to keep it proportional. move my mouse until I get those curved arrows to change the rotation. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. So you could do a whole body. I'm just gonna do a head and shoulders kind of picture, like your yearbook portrait, just a head and shoulders portrait of this person. Apply. And then I'm ready for my next food. So let's just see. I'm gonna quiz you guys. Raise your hand if you can tell me what am I doing first. First step in adding a food. Samir. Yes, I'm dragging it down to the Photoshop icon. Okay, now I have it open in the second tab. What's my second step? Yusuf. Very good. Select all to select the whole picture. Okay, now that it's selected, what do I do next? Kaylee? Yes, edit, copy. So you can see we're just going to keep repeating these steps. Now that it's copied, what do I do? Corleone. No, Calleon. Calleon. Yep, I can X out of this one. And then what? Edit, paste. Good. Okay, I want to use this as hair. I want to get rid of the white. How do I get rid of the white? Ikram? You said cut it? Yes, and what tool do I use to select it and cut it out? You guys remember the magic wand, this one, magic wand tool, and it's underneath the quick selection tool. So you'll see this one first. You have to click and hold to go to the magic wand. Click on the white. The white is all selected. Then she said go to edit, cut. Okay, I'm gonna now go to the move tool, and this is something new. First, let me make this a little bigger. So how do I make it bigger? The picture bigger? Yusuf? Edit. Free transform. Good. So I'm going to make it bigger, and I want to rotate it a little bit. I'm going to start putting together maybe a few bunches of cilantro to make hair. But I want this to look like it's behind my head. So to do that, there's a couple ways you could do it. I could either use like the eraser tool and start. So I'm going to click on this eraser. If you're not sure what a tool is, if you just hover over it, it'll tell you what it is and it'll show you what it does. So that's the eraser tool. And you can see it's erasing part of the picture. You can change the settings up here. So if I wanted my eraser to be a little bigger, I can make it bigger. The hardness is whether it's a crisp edge like that or whether it's a fuzzy edge. So if I pull that down, it'll make it more of a fuzzy edge when I'm erasing. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. And then zoom, you use the magnifying glass to zoom. You can also use the key commands, which are Command plus and Command minus. I use key commands a lot, so if you don't see me going to a tool, I'm probably going to key command. All right, so you could either erase like what's overlapping, to make it look like it's part of the picture, or you can go to the layers over here, and I could drag layer 3 under layer 2. So drag the cilantro layer under the watermelon, then it looks like it's behind. I can also see once I've zoomed in, there's still parts of the white that didn't get cut out. So I could use either the magic wand and cut those again, or you can work with the eraser. So I'm going to go back to the eraser and get rid of what I don't want to see here. And then try to make this look like hair. So maybe I have kind of a fuzzy edge, and I think that's working okay for this. Okay, now another thing I haven't shown you yet is how to copy and paste. If I want more of the same thing, more cilantro, it's really easy to do that. I don't have to copy a whole nother picture. I can just go over to the layer that has the cilantro layer 3, and I can go to layer at the top and duplicate layer. Or you can also drag that layer 3 down to the new layer button, which is that little square right next to the trash can. And it makes a copy, an exact copy. So now I can just move this. I can transform or rotate it. So there might be some foods where you're going to want to make multiple copies of it. Like if you're doing 2 eyes and you want the eyes to be exactly the same. Instead of copying and pasting another one, just duplicate it. So either by dragging it to the new layer button or going to, oops, and now you might have to play around and make sure you're on the right layer when you're moving these. If I wanted to flip it, I can go to transform, edit transform, flip horizontal. And I'm starting to make my hair. Okay, so I've basically shown you everything you need to know to start putting together the food portrait. Are there any questions or parts you want me to review before you try it? Okay, how many different foods do you need to include in your portrait?
12.
12, yes, 12 foods. So you might not finish this today. The reason I want you to do 12 is I want you to think about how can you push yourself to get a variety of different foods. So like on these student examples, she's got, did anybody guess the theme of this? Mexican foods. And she had to think about, using different fruits for just the eyes or eyebrows, arms, fingers, earrings, a bow in her hair. So think about details and ways that you can add foods to get more detail, okay? All right, any other questions? Okay, I will come around and help you as you get started.